0 seconds. Speech off.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I added more books to my GoodReads want to read shelf in the last couple of weeks, and so I thought that I would go through those before we go into February's list, which I have not added anything so far in February, which is why I want to do this now before I get everything mixed up. So, let's just get right into it. First book is The Day the World Came to Town by Jim DeFeed, recommended to me by Gloria Z. Thompson on BookTube. Here's a description. When 38 jetliners bound for the United States were forced to land at Gander International Airport in Canada by the closing of U.S. airspace on September 11th, the population of this small town on Newfoundland Island swelled from 10,300 to nearly 17,000. The citizens of Gander met the stranded passengers with an overwhelming display of friendship and goodwill. As the passengers stepped from the airplanes, exhausted, hungry, and distraught after being held on board for nearly 24 hours while security checked all of the baggage, they were greeted with a feast prepared by the townspeople. Local bus drivers who had been on strike came off the picket lines to transport the passengers to the various shelters set up in local schools and churches. Linens and toiletries were bought and donated. A middle school provided showers as well as access to computers, email, and televisions, allowing the passengers to stay in touch with family and follow the news. Over the course of those 4 days, many of the passengers developed friendships with Gander residents that they expect to last a lifetime. This book recounts the inspiring story of the residents of Gander, Canada, whose acts of kindness have touched the lives of thousands of people and been an example of humanity and goodwill. So yeah, this is kind of another angle to September 11th and how one of the places where the planes who were in the air had to land and how they took these people in, and it just sounds really interesting, and I am all for books with community helping each other out. So this sounds really interesting, and I just got it from the library. I was on hold for a little bit, so I'm excited. Next we have Christmas in Winter Hill by Melody Carlson. This is recommended to me by Book Lover Amanda. It was on her channel. I actually talked about this in my January wrap-up, so I will just say that I added it to my GoodReads and move on, and you guys can, find out more about that in the wrap-up. So next book, House of Eve by Sadiqa Johnson. These next few books are new releases, and I got these through a booktuber named Bookish Realm. I cannot remember her name apart from her channel. I'm sorry. She is someone I recently started watching. But I love watching her. Well, I guess listening to her is more appropriate. Yeah, blind people say the words watch and, anyway. She is a librarian from what I know, and she has really interesting topics aside from the books that she brings. I loved her series on banned books, so if anybody is interested, please go check out Bookish Realm. I will link her channel in the description box. But onto her books that I was interested in her new release list. First is House of Eve by Sadiqa Johnson. Sadiqa Johnson also wrote The Yellow Wife, which I have not read, and I need to. I might this month, we'll see. This will be released on February 7th. Here's a description. 1950s Philadelphia. 15-year-old Ruby Pearsall is on track to becoming the first in her family to attend college, in spite of having a mother more interested in keeping a man than raising a daughter. But a taboo love affair threatens to pull her back down into the poverty and desperation that has been passed on to her like a birthright. Eleanor Quarles arrives in Washington, D.C. with ambition and secrets. When she meets the handsome William Pride at Howard University, they fall madly in love. But William hails from one of D.C.'s elite wealthy black families, and his parents don't let just anyone into their fold. Eleanor hopes that a baby will make her finally feel at home in William's family and grant her the life she's been searching for. But having a baby and fitting in is easier said than done. With their stories colliding in the most unexpected of ways, Ruby and Eleanor will both make decisions that shape the trajectory of their lives. This sounds really interesting. Next is The Librarian of Burned Books by Brianna Labusks. This will be released on February 21st. This is going to be a long description. Berlin, 1933. Following the success of her debut novel, American writer Althea James receives an invitation from Joseph Goebbels himself to participate in a culture exchange program in Germany. For a girl from a small town in Maine, 1933 Berlin seems to be sparkling cosmopolitan, blossoming in the midst of a great change with the charismatic new chancellor at the helm. Then Althea meets a beautiful woman who promises to show her the real Berlin, and soon she's drawn into a group of resistors who make her question everything she knows about her hosts and herself. Paris, 1936. She may have escaped Berlin for Paris, but Hannah Brecht discovers the City of Light is no refuge from the anti-Semitism and Nazi sympathizers she thought she left behind. Heartbroken and tormented by the role she played in the betrayal that destroyed her family, Hannah throws herself into her work at the German Library of Burned Books. Through the quiet power of books, she believes she can help counter the tide of fascism she sees rising across Europe and atone for her mistakes. But when a dear friend decides actions will speak louder than words, Hannah must decide what stories she is willing to live or die for. New York, 1944. Since her husband Edward was killed fighting the Nazis, Vivian Childs has been waging her own war, preventing a powerful senator's attempts to censor the armed service editions, portable paperbacks that are shipped by the millions to soldiers overseas. Viv knows just how much they mean to the men through the letters she receives, including the last one she got from Edward. She also knows the only way to win this battle is to counter the senator's propaganda with a story of her own, at the heart of which lies the reclusive and mysterious woman tending the American Library of Nazi-banned books in Brooklyn. As Viv unknowingly brings her censorship fight crashing into the secrets of the recent past, the fates of these three women will converge, changing all of them forever. Sorry about that. That is a long description, but kind of had to read the whole thing. And it sounds really good. World War II, banned books, I'm all in. Next is Remind Me to Hate You Later by Lizzie Mason. This book will be released on February 28th. 17-year-old Jules grew up in her mother's spotlight. A parenting influencer, Britt shares details of her daughter's life, pictures, intimate stories, insecurities, all to a point that becomes unbearable to Jules. And suddenly she's gone. Natalie has only barely begun to grieve her best friend Jules' death when Britt announces her plans to publish a memoir that will dissect Jules' life and death. But Nat knows the truth behind Britt's perfect Instagram feed. Jewel hates the pressure, the inauthenticity, the persona. There's so much more to Jules than Britt and her followers could ever know. As Nat connects with Jules' boyfriend Carter and their shared grief and guilt bonds them, she becomes determined to expose Britt, to understand what really happened and who is to blame. This particular book is really timely, especially when you consider, we live in a world where family vlogging is normal, it's what people do. They have influencers, you put your kids everywhere, on TikTok, and there's lots of family vloggers out there, so it's kind of interesting that people are now writing about it. I guess we'll see how this goes. I'm kind of in the middle when it comes to that. I can see the potential dangers, but at the same time, I can't help but watch the train wreck sometimes. I watch Teen Mom on MTV. Don't judge me. Okay, judge me. Next is From Sarah to Sydney, The Woman Behind All of a Kind Family by June Cummins. I got this one through this podcast that I listen to that dissects the American Girl books. It's called Dolls of Our Lives. And they did an episode that was about Sydney Taylor and her books, All of a Kind Family. And they referenced this biography of Sydney Taylor. And I was an avid All of a Kind Family reader. So I want to read her biography. So there's that one. Next is a book that I found on Audible. It's coming out soon. I got an email because I love this author. Codename Sapphire by Pam Jenoff. Released February 7th. Ooh, I didn't realize it was a soon. Okay, I'm excited. I love Pam Jenoff. I read The Woman with the Blue Star and The Orphan's Tale. I love her World War II books. Okay. A woman must rescue her cousin's family from a train bound for Auschwitz in this riveting tale of bravery and resistance. 1942. Hannah Martel has narrowly escaped Nazi Germany after her fiancé was killed in a pogrom. When her ship bound for America is turned away at port, she has nowhere to go but to her cousin Lily, who lives with her family in Brussels. Fearful for her life, Hannah is desperate to get out of occupied Europe. But with no safe way to leave, she must return to the dangerous underground work she thought she had left behind. Seeking help, Hannah joins the Sapphire Line, a secret resistance network led by a mysterious woman named Micheline and her enigmatic brother, Matteo. But when a grave mistake causes Lily's family to be arrested and slated for deportation to Auschwitz, Hannah finds herself torn between her loyalties. How much is Hannah willing to sacrifice to save the people she loves? Whoa. I am so in. Next are some books that I got through the Reading Through Life podcast. I already forgot which episode it was, but I found like 3 in a row that I want to read. First one is We Deserve Monuments by Jas Hammonds. What's more important, knowing the truth or keeping the peace? 17-year-old Avery Anderson is convinced her senior year is ruined when she's uprooted from her life in D.C. and forced into the hostile home of her terminally ill grandmother, Mama Letty. The tension between Avery's mom and Mama Letty makes for a frosty arrival and unearths past drama they refuse to talk about. Every time Avery tries to look deeper, she's turned away, leaving her desperate to learn the secrets that split her family in two. While tempers flare in her avoidant family, Avery finds friendship in unexpected places. In Simone Cole, her captivating next-door neighbor, and Jade Oliver, daughter of the town's most prominent family, whose mother's murder remains unsolved. As the 3 girls grow closer, Avery and Simone's friendship blossoming into romance, the sharp-edged opinions of their small southern town begin to hint at something insidious underneath. The racist history of Bardell, Georgia, is rooted in Avery's family in ways she can't even imagine. With Mama Letty's help dwindling every day, Avery must decide if digging for the truth is worth toppling the delicate relationships she's built in Bardell, or if some things are better left buried. Next book is The Break by Katie Seiss. After the traumatic birth of her daughter at a New York City hospital, Rowan O'Sullivan returns home to her apartment with her perfect newborn, Lila. At her side are her husband, Gabe, and June, a part-time babysitter hired to help Rowan in any way she can. But in this time of joy, Rowan can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. She feels dread. She's breaking. Rowan's growing instability leads her to accuse June of unspeakable things. And when June disappears just days later, Rowan becomes a suspect. The neighbors heard the screaming, but only Rowan knows what really happened. If her mind can be trusted, that is. Since Lila's birth, her memory has been both unreliable and frightening. To uncover what happened to June and protect her new baby, Rowan must try to untangle the deep recesses of her mind and face the dark things she's so desperate to keep buried. When she does, no one is prepared for where the truth leads. Okay, that sounds really interesting. A disappearance and an unreliable narrator. Like, whodunit? I must know. Which is why I bought this one. I can find it at my library, not even on hold, and I had to have it. Next is These Things Hidden by Heather Gudenkoff. I found this on a video that Krista from Books and Jams put on her channel. I had forgotten all about Heather Gudenkoff. I'd read a couple of her books, The Weight of Silence and I think it's called Little Mercies. But I really love the two books, and so yeah. I got this one through Krista, and then I went on a Heather Gudenkoff rabbit hole. So these last three are all Heather Gudenkoff books. So this first one is called These Things Hidden. When teenager Allison Glenn is sent to prison for a heinous crime, she leaves behind her reputation as Lyndon Falls' golden girl forever. Her parents deny the existence of their once perfect child. Her former friends exalt her downfall. Her sister Bryn faces whispered rumors every day in the hallways of their small Iowa high school. It's Bryn, shy, quiet Bryn, who carries the burden of what really happened that night. All she wants is to forget Allison and the past that haunts her. But then Allison is released to a halfway house and is more determined than ever to speak with her estranged sister. Now their legacy of secrets is focused on one little boy. And if the truth is revealed, the consequences will be unimaginable for the adoptive mother who loves him, the girl who tried to protect him, and the two sisters who hold the key to all that is hidden. Okay, I'm really interested in this. What did this woman do, or girl, or what did she do? What does the kid have to do with it? I'm confused, and I'm intrigued. And thank God my library had it, because I gotta read it. Here's one that my library didn't have, and I may have to buy, and I don't want to buy it, because, I mean, I love thrillers, don't get me wrong, but a thriller is only fun once. Once you know the mystery, you don't really want to read it again, usually. Anyway, it's called One Breath Away by Heather Gudenkoff. In the midst of a sudden spring snowstorm, an unknown man armed with a gun walks into an elementary school classroom. Outside the school, the town of Broken Branch watches and waits. Officer Meg Barrett holds the responsibility for the town's children in her hands. Will Thwite, reluctantly entrusted with the care of his two grandchildren by the daughter who left home years earlier, stands by helplessly and wonders if he has failed his child again. Trapped in her classroom, Evelyn Oliver watches for an opportunity to rescue the children in her care. And 13-year-old Augie Baker, already struggling with the aftermath of a terrible accident that has brought her to Broken Branch, will risk her own safety to protect her little brother. As tensions mount with each passing minute, the hidden fears and grudges of the small town are revealed as the people of Broken Branch race to uncover the identity of the stranger who holds their children hostage. Wow. And here is my last book. This is How I Lied by Heather Gudenkoff. 25 years ago, the body of 16-year-old Eve Knox was found in the caves near her home in small-town Grotto, Iowa, discovered by her best friend Maggie and her sister Nola. There were a handful of suspects, including her boyfriend Nick, but without sufficient evidence, the case ultimately went cold. For decades, Maggie was haunted by Eve's death and that horrible night. Now, a detective in Grotto and 7 months pregnant, she is thrust back into the past when a new piece of evidence surfaces and the case is reopened. As Maggie investigates and re-examines the clues, secrets about what really happened begins to emerge. But someone in town knows more than what they're letting on, and they'll stop at nothing to keep the truth buried deep. Yep. So those are the books I am excited to get to at some point. Hopefully soon. And yep, that is what I added to GoodReads in the rest of January. So I'll keep doing these videos since I can't really do book hauls as I don't really buy books. I mean, I get them on audio or I download them or whatever, but, you know, there's nothing to see. So I do this periodically. Well, every month. Sometimes more than once a month. If I acquire about 10 books in 2 weeks, you're getting a video. So you could get a few. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye.
Speech on. Face near right edge.
Okay, be quiet, voiceover.
Stop recording video.